In this video we're going to look at how to upgrade a Dell computer. First of all, we have to make sure that it plugs in and works. So you can see here the rear of the machine has various ports that are needed to attach things to. We'll start off with a power cable. Power cable, sometimes called a kettle lead, and it has a three-pronged attachment here. This goes into three prongs here. It only goes in one way because it's slightly D-shaped. And so that would then plug into power on the wall. We also have a video cable. This is a VGA cable. We can tell this by these blue connectors, and they have 15 pins. And you'll see on the ports that we also have another blue connector. So although all cables aren't blue, normally VGA is blue cable to blue cable. Again, D-shaped, so it only goes on one way. And we have some thumb screws that will allow you to screw that on so that it doesn't accidentally get bumped and come loose. That is reasonably secure. That would then go into the back of the same port on your monitor. We also need to have a keyboard. So we have here a keyboard. Most keyboards nowadays will be USB connectors, although there are some that are still using the old PS2 round connectors. As we can see for the Dell here, this is USB, and that would then connect in to one of the USB ports here. And there's quite a few ports to choose from, so I'm just going to choose this bottom one. And it only goes in one way up, so if it's starting to feel as if it's not going to go in, then do not force it. And we also have a USB mouse. Again, it's possible to have mice that are PS2 based, but they're less common nowadays. So USB would then connect in there, like so. This machine, if it's connected to the monitor and the power is plugged in, is then ready to test to make sure that it boots up. At the moment I'm going to unplug all these things because we're going to actually open the machine and do an upgrade to what's inside. So again, just pulling out carefully to take the mouse and keyboard. Gently wiggle the plug backwards and forwards until the power comes loose. And unscrew the thumb screws and gently wiggle off to remove the VGA cable. Okay, this machine is a tool-less design, which means you don't need to have any spanners or screwdrivers to get into it and make changes. So you will see that at the top we have a pull lever here, and it's got a lock part that can keep it locked in place. But if I pull this to the side, the flap here lifts up, and I'm then able to take the case apart. That hinges up and then comes loose, and you can just put that to the side. So this is the internals of the machine, and what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to place something underneath so that it tilts this towards the camera. You wouldn't have to do this normally, you just leave things flat on the desk. Various parts to the machine here. This part here is the processor, covered by a heat sink that is to draw the heat away from the processor to stop it overheating. We have the optical drive here, we have the hard disk drive here, and we have the power supply here. Normally when we're doing this work we should use an electronic discharge strap in case the board has got any charge still in it. But this is an old computer that's been lying around for a long while, so I know that there won't be any charge in this particular version. To disconnect the optical drive, notice that it has two cables here. One is a power cable and the other one is a data cable. So this small set of wires is for power, and this here is to transfer information. That's a SATA cable, the orange cable here. So I'm going to just gently wiggle that to the side till it unplugs, and the same with the power. Make sure you know which ones they are so you can connect in your upgraded device. The drive itself will then, it is fixed in place in a toolless fashion. If we pull this lever up, you should then be able to pull the disc backwards and then remove it from the case. Put that aside. We can see now, a bit better than motherboard, there is some sticks of RAM here. There is 1, 2, 3 sticks of RAM, and we're going to actually upgrade the RAM by removing that and replacing with different RAM. There's also a hard drive here, and to remove the hard drive we use these purple levers. They press towards the middle, you can then lift up, and the hard drive can then be taken out of the way to make it easier to access the motherboard. We can see now that the motherboard is made up of various different chips. We have the north bridge covered by a heatsink because it gets very hot, and the south bridge gets less hot, so it doesn't need a heatsink. So to remove the RAM, there are on this board white and black clips beside. I just take and show the camera so we can see here black strips and white strips that are holding in place. And to remove the RAM, I'm going to use my fingers and thumbs to push those levers down, and the RAM will then pop up, and you can lift it by the sides and put it aside. Try not to touch the gold contacts because grease from your fingers may then cause problems for the operation of the machine. So again, I'm going to press down on the levers either side. The RAM then pops up and I lift it gently out using the sides and put it aside. And one last piece of RAM here. Pull the levers, lift it out by the sides and put it aside. So we have now taken out the optical drive and the RAM. You will swap that with another group and then replace them so that you are then doing an in-place upgrade. To refit the RAM, lift it by the sides, trying to avoid touching the gold contacts. Place it into the slots. Notice that it will only go in one direction. There is a little notch in the middle that lines up with a notch on the RAM carriers. So it gently slots into place, and then we're going to use some gentle pressure about 1/3 of the way in at each side. So about here and here, usually with our thumbs to press down firmly until it clicks into place. So on this one here, thumbs 1/3 either side, press down firmly, and you hear a click when the two levers snap in and hold it in place. We should use matched pairs, so ideally we would use the two white carriers first and then the two black. So I'm going to actually remove that and put it back into the white carrier. So slot into place, make sure it's going the right way, don't try to force it if it's not. And then with your thumbs, about 1/3 or 1/4 of the way in, press down firmly until the carriers click into place and hold the RAM. So the two matching pairs into white. And again with my thumbs, about 1/4 to 1/3 of the way in, pressing down firmly, click two different sides there. And then my last piece of RAM, I'm going to put back into one of the remaining slots. This is a slightly different version of RAM, and in actual fact probably easier to put in because there's less height to it. And we heard it clicking into place there. Once the RAM's in place, you can put the hard drive back. So I'm going to turn it back over. I make sure that this front part here hinges into the slot. And then at the back there are two holes that will match up with some cross pegs. And when they're properly over the cross pegs, I can just press down hard and it clicks into place. Swap the optical drive with another group, and we're then going to take that, we're going to slide it into the position that's available. Might have to put it in sideways to fit the gap, and then slide forward until it clicks in place. And you hear that clicking, and then it doesn't rattle around anymore. And then we attach up the data and power cables. The power cable has a little bump on one side, so it can only fit in one particular way. And that clips on there. And then the data cable, again, will only fit in one direction. So if I try to put it in the wrong way, it won't attach, because there's a little groove at the side. So I need to put it in the correct direction for the groove to fit. And that's my SATA cable. Right first time. That's my SATA cable attached up. Do a quick visual check that nothing's come loose, that everything is firmly in place and all the wires have been reattached. And then we take the case and we put it back together. You will see there are a little hole here for hinges. These match up with the hinges on the side of the case. And then the whole thing should just drop down into place, firm press to shut. And we're now ready to then go and reattach the devices so that we can test that our upgraded computer is actually working.